Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. This was an intense game against Roma. It's not necessarily a derby, but it kind of is the biggest team that we have closest to us. So I do think of this game as a bit of a derby game, and it's always frustrating when you can't go out and win it. And at the same time, especially when this was the best Napoli team, the best Napoli performance all season, it's frustrating not to come out with 3 points. There's a lot of reasons why that didn't happen. And maybe it's even more frustrating that this performance did actually happen because where was this desire all season? If we had played like this all season, we would have been able to have 10 or so more points at least. And that's a huge difference. Those 10 points potentially. So, yeah, very frustrating that this couldn't be replicated all season, but it's nice to see at least a game of football where they're actually trying. And it was the same against Inter. So at least for the big games, they turned up. It's just a shame that they weren't able to motivate themselves the rest of the time this year. So yeah, let's get into the game, guys. Let's get into the game. I want to get some of your questions and stuff. So I guess Marcello follows me on on Twitter. I said that after the Osimhen penalty. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. Hafiz says, "Let's go Napoli." I guess this was during the game. Jesus and Rahmani need to go after this game. No more of either one. Says Maximus 1318. I think Rahmani didn't even have that bad of a game today. But Juan Jesus, man, it was going so well for Napoli. We were piling on the pressure. We had all the chances in the world, and then that happens, and that's frustrating. That's very very frustrating. Doesn't Calzona know that you don't sub on corners? Thank you, man. Thank you. I mean, this is something that I want to talk about with you guys because I understand. Okay, I understand that you want to bring on Ostigard. Okay, I get it. He's stronger, more like his main strength is getting the ball in the air. But you never, ever, 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 ever sub someone off during a corner. It has happened so many times that you end up conceding a goal when that happens. Why does that happen? Because in a corner, that's when you have to be the most concentrated. Okay? And anything that ruins that concentration, that ruins who you're supposed to be marking, is bad for you. Okay? And when Traore comes off and Ostigard comes in, the people that the players are marking all of a sudden needs to change, right? And you adapt. And that causes confusion, that causes distractions. And it also, I think, gives off a negative perception to the players. Bringing on a defender with 5 minutes to go. I'm never a big fan of that. I'm never a fan of bringing on a defender late in the game because I think that that unlocks a fear in the players that they're about to concede a goal. And so that the manager has to do something about it. We had Roma under control. They only scored through a penalty. There was no reason for us to be panicking. And it's such an amateur mistake from Calzona to feel that way. I'm totally okay with you bringing on a defender. If the other team is piling on the pressure like crazy, fine, fine. Bring on a defender. But Roma were not doing that with us today. They were not piling on that kind of pressure on us. You're just going to send out a lack of confidence message to the players out there. It was totally avoidable, guys. It was so totally avoidable. And yeah, the other thing about it is that the other only time when I would agree with Calzona is if you are historically a bad team on corners, right? Or if in this game already you had conceded on a corner, or something like that, then at that point I would say, okay, we've either already suffered Roma in this situation, or maybe we've been doing badly in corners recently, so let's bring on an extra defender. Like chances are we're going to concede anyways, right? But that's not the case with Napoli. Napoli historically are okay at corners. We actually don't concede that much on corners, which is funny because we concede a lot on other crosses. When it's open play, we concede a lot. But when it's corners, when people are concentrated, when people know exactly what they need to do, Napoli do not concede a lot on corners. So I am very shocked at what Calzona did, and I think that totally cost us the game. That plus Juan Jesus' penalty, which Napoli did so well to react with. But yeah, it's frustrating to lose like that. And I want to bring the discussion back to Tudor, because Tudor went with Lazio 5 games ago, and he's gotten them 12 points. 12 points in 15. And look, I was one of the first that that said, well, yeah, Tudor's good, but is that really what we need? We'd have to change to three at the back midway through the season, and this, that, and the other. And then I'm seeing what he's doing at Lazio, and I'm thinking, maybe instead of getting Mazzarri and Calzona, maybe Turo was the way to go. Um, I think on hindsight, I think we can all agree that we made multiple mistakes with that, and it's a shame. I mean, when he came to Lazio, Lazio were behind us. Now they're 5 points ahead of us in 5 games. He's caught up a lot. He's bringing Lazio back into Champions League contention. Yeah, it's tough. It's very, very tough. It's very tough. All right, let's get to this comment here by Vincenzo Bertillo. And thank you, man, once again for the 13.99 Canadian dollars. I really appreciate that, my man. Vincenzo says, at this point, my ADL has to call bald Tony Conte and sign in sangue. Yes, man, we need a serious coach back. And I think this season will always, like this and last season combined, will be the definite answer to the question, how important is a coach? And I think the answer to that is very, very important, because you can tell when a coach is unexperienced. You can tell when when they are not used to being in that position of power, when it's squeaky bum time and you're winning 2-1 and it's the 88th minute. What are you going to do? Are you going to make that substitution, bringing on the defender in the middle of the corner, which you think might be a safe bet, even though you should know better? Or do you just take a deep breath, let the corner happen, and then eventually make that change? Or maybe don't make that change and don't give off any negative signals to the team. And I think, experienced coaches do make those mistakes as well. I will never forget Spalletti taking off Icardi when he was at Inter and allowing Juventus to win that game against Inter in the 88th minute. And that was a very defensive and not good signal type of substitution made by Spalletti when he was at Inter. So he was a very experienced coach. So experienced coaches can make those mistakes as well. But I think the rate at which Calzona's made mistakes when it comes to substitution, I feel like every game I can point out to a substitution and I'm like, why? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you pick this player? Why did you do it at this point in time? And it's very tough to watch him make decisions, to be honest. How did they spend that much time on VAR and injury in the first half and only get 1 and 5 minutes of stoppage time? Yeah, that was ridiculous, man. The amount of stoppage time given was very little, very little. Hafi says it was a fair result. I think Napoli deserved more. I think Napoli deserved more, honestly. Even though you have to consider that the Roma goalkeeper pulled off some amazing saves, and so he deserves not to have conceded goals from, let's say, let's call it open play, right? I mean, the goal that he conceded, like, okay, let's take a step back, otherwise you might not understand what I'm trying to say. The two goals we scored, one was a penalty and one was a major deflection. So even though we had about 30 shots towards goal, in the end, we were still not able to score with a proper, let's say, a proper shot, you know? And whilst I do feel that we created enough chances that we should have won the game, I always want to remind people that the goalkeeper of the other team is part of the other team. And if they have an amazing game, and the Roma goalkeeper did have an amazing game, then that deserves some credit. And so you can't say, oh, well, Napoli deserved to win. Look at all the chances we had. Well, I mean, maybe Roma didn't deserve to lose because look how good their goalkeeper was. And, it's just as good as saying, look how good a striker is, right? I mean, there's always a bias that we tend to forget that the goalkeeper is part of a team. And yeah, I thought the Roma goalkeeper was amazing today. I mean, Osimhen's shots, especially that late one in the second half, I do not think many goalkeepers would be making that save. I think there was nothing wrong with what Osimhen did. I think that was just an extremely good save, a very, very good save. And so there will be people that criticize Osimhen for missing that chance. I'm not going to be one of those people today. I'm not going to be one of those people because I think he did everything right. He beat Mancini, he's at full speed, and then the goalkeeper made an amazing, incredible save. And you have to respect that. You have to respect that. Kvara is carrying this team so bad. Yeah, he did well today. He did well. But again, there was not something that Kvara did well, but at the end we always have to think overall how much of a serious impact, the so okay, he got the penalty, right? But it wasn't a goal scoring up. It's not like it was a penalty because of a goal scoring opportunity, right? I mean, he got tackled by Renato Sanchez, who was being an idiot tackling in that position like that. So fair play to Cavara, and he did incredibly well today, and I gave him a good score. Um, I'm not convinced today it was all about Kvara. I think everybody played a bit better today, which made also Kvara play better. I think Osimhen did well. I think Anguissa did well. I think Lobo did well. Yeah, I would say there was a few players that played well today, honestly. So, yeah. Um, Imagine Napoli had Bob Bongiorno at center back. Yeah, and Ngonje is better than Politano. I think he showed it as soon as he came on, had that shot on or just off target, then played the pass to Osimhen, the chance that we had just talked about. Um, but yeah, it was just all of the attacking guys, Ngonje, Politano, Osimhen, Kvara. I think they all played a good game. Just no one was able to really beat the goalkeeper, in the end. I mean, technically Osimhen beat him, but it was a penalty, right? Like no one was able to find the rabbit out of the hat. And to what extent should we be asking that of players? Well, I mean, we shouldn't be expecting it, but let's also not say like, oh wow, what an amazing game if in the end the striker didn't really, assist or score. It's like, yeah. But still, I think they played good. Don't think that I'm saying that they didn't play good. I'm just saying that they haven't been decisive at the end of the day. Napoli are the team in the Serie A with the most shots, and yet we are only 15th with the amount of conversion rate. That's bad, and I think we tend to confuse the fact that someone had a lot of shots on target as, oh, this guy's carrying this team. Oh, this guy's super good. Look at all the shots he had. Well, you could argue that it's not a good thing to have all those shots if you're then not scoring, right? You could argue that at that point you're just giving the ball away. But that's a very extreme case. You guys get what I mean. I'm saying we should be more decisive, okay? Moving on. Mike X Stadman, thank you so much for the $5 donation, for coming through once again, guys. I appreciate all these donations. I appreciate it. Um, by the way, let me know in the chat if any of you guys ended up buying one of these things that I have here to show the t-shirts. Just because I want to keep track of, like, you know, I want to keep track of it so that I can go back to the guy and be like, yo, I brought you like 10 people. Do you want to do a collab? And then that could be something interesting. But anyways, Mike Ekstad says, what coach wants this job? Even the rot is top down. Napoli already lacks an infrastructure, poor morale. I can't see Napoli as an ideal job. I disagree 90% with this statement. Here's here's what I think. I think if you're a manager, this is the absolute best time to come to Napoli. The best town to come to Napoli, because you cannot do worse than Garcia Mazzarri Calzona. If you think as a manager that you're not a fraud, if you think you actually have skill as a manager, then you should be looking at the table of where Napoli is right now and thinking, I can improve this by 3 or 4 positions easily when I apply my skills here. I think if you're a Conte, you have absolutely no doubt in your mind that you can do better. And that's ultimately what you're going to be judged on, is are you going to be doing better than the others? So that's number one. You're going to win that comparison. Number two, if you don't win the title for the next, let's say, 2 years, you can always say, oh, yeah, well, we sold Osimhen and we had to rebuild. And you guys know the starting point. So there's no expectations to win the title. Okay? This year, it's not like we had expectations to win the title, but it was in the back of everybody's mind, right? That, oh, like, are we gonna, it's there, right? We won it the year before. The season that's coming up, no one's even gonna dare to think about that, right? If it happens gradually, naturally, fine, but no one's gonna expect that from the coach. And as I alluded to, reason number three is there is going to be a turnaround, okay? And that means that you're going to sell the players that you don't see fit. And guess what? You can tell a player to leave, and he doesn't have any right to complain after the season that you've just seen this year. It's hard to tell, like, guys, it's hard to tell a player to leave if he's just won you the title, right? You might not like Juan Jesus, but it was difficult to get rid of him this summer because he says, "Oh, you want to get rid of me? I'm champion of Italy. I contributed, and I've got 2 years of contract." And now it's a different story. Now you tell Juan Jesus, "You see what you did today against Roma? You see what you did against that? You see what you did? You got to leave. And by the way, you've only got 1 year left of contract, so you better leave now, right? Otherwise, we're gonna give you the Zielinski treatment, which is you're not gonna see the football field unless we are literally desperate. And I cannot imagine a scenario where we will be desperate for Juan Jesus next year, because I assume that De Laurentiis is gonna go off and buy some good center backs, right? So if you are a Conte coming in, you have the authority and the power and enough arguments to tell a player you're not part of the squad anymore. You played shit last year, right? That's just fact. So he has the chance to get rid of who he likes and then to get whoever he wants in, which is a position that not a lot of managers are in when you get into a new club, because most times when you get into a club that's got a group of players that is, let's say, top 4 or 5 in the league, it's very rare that you get such a huge turnaround of players, right? The president's not going to want to go and spend all this money to change the squad around, and maybe has his own preconceptions about who he wants to keep. No, don't sell this guy because he's actually not that bad. Now everybody's for sale, right? And De Laurentiis has to start listening to the coach, and they have to plan with the coach. And so I think the coach that comes in is in such a good position that I fully believe that Conte, Italiano, Pioli, all these Gasperini, I think all of them have agreed to the Napoli job. And now it's just up to De Laurentiis. I honestly believe that Conte has already agreed with Napoli. I believe it. I believe it. I think Conte has said yes to Napoli. The only thing that De Laurentiis now has to weigh up is that he's got 4 or 5 coaches that have said yes to him, and he has to see, okay, if I confirm Conte, what's the impact? How much is it going to cost me? If I confirm Pioli, how much is it going to cost me? Conte wants me to spend 300 million, Pioli wants me to spend 200 million. What do I do? What's best for me? But I think it's now the ball is in De Laurentiis' court, where he's now deciding between the options. And all the options have already given him the approval, so long as De Laurentiis, once he picks them, will commit to the promises that he committed to. That's what I think. Mike says, and by the way, you don't have to always donate, but thank you. Mike says, but your boss would be the unpredictable ADL. But again, I think look, this is a time and place where he's been humbled, man. Like, you know how desperate De Laurentiis is if he brings in Conte? Do you know how desperate he has to be to pay a coach 8 million euros? I think at that point, Conte knows that he's the man in charge. If if your boss is paying you 8 million euros, you're the man. You're the man in charge. Your boss needs you a lot. And he can't afford to get Conte upset, because if the relationship turns sour and he feels at that point that he has to fire Conte, what's he going to do? Keep Conte on the sideline for 8 million euros a season? No way. No way. So he's gonna want that relationship to work. De Laurentiis is going to adapt to Conte. He has to adapt to Conte, because the scenario of going against Conte, he's the loser in that scenario. ADL is the loser. ADL is the one who would have to keep a manager on the sidelines for 8 million euros a year if things don't work out. Conte can chill, man. I mean, Conte, if De Laurentiis wants him gone, then, he chills. But ADL can't pull off what he's pulled off this year with Conte, you know? And Conte's got that dog in him, bro. No, but like Conte's got that reputation. Conte's got the contacts in the media. He can turn the narrative around in his favor, and people might be taking a little bit of De Laurentiis's people might still try to save De Laurentiis this year, saying, well, yes, it's his fault, but not entirely, because actually the substitutions that Calzona made, but I feel like people are not going to criticize Conte as much, and they're going to assume that Conte knows best, and so then more blame falls under De Laurentiis if things don't go well next season. So yeah, that's my that's my opinion on all this. Let's go back to the game though, because the Conte thing we can discuss in more length and in more detail when it might get announced. And I have a feeling it might happen on the day of the movie that's coming out on the 4th of May. The movie is called Sarò Conte, and that literally has Conte's name in it. Just it would just fit that he's announced on that day. So yeah, center back is so useless. Napoli is playing 9 players, says Alex. That we are so vulnerable. Yeah, yeah, we are. And Gonja should be given a chance for starting 11. Yeah, he shows that he's a good player. He's still not. Again, he's still not someone that you can say he's giving better numbers than Politano, because at the end of the day, if you're in the front three, you're going to be judged on goals and assists. So he's still not maybe contributing directly, but you can tell that he gives a little bit more than Politano. But Politano is this weird kind of player that whenever you think that's it, then he turns out to, he ends up scoring 2 amazing goals back to back, and you're like, ah. Okay, well, so he's not finished. And you try to squeeze out a little bit more out of him, and then you realize that maybe that was a mistake. So, yeah. And Calzona is starting Juan Jesus, so that is his fault. Don't give Osimhen a 9. Don't worry, I won't be giving him a 9. No one's getting a 9. No, like, if you have 30 shots on goal and you have to score with your left back with a deflection and a penalty, I cannot give a 9 to the strikers. I cannot. I can barely give an 8. I might give an 8 if like you hit the crossbar 3 times, right? Like, but realistically these guys don't deserve more than a 7, because if you're a striker, I think fundamentally you have to score, right? And if you don't score and you don't assist, then I think the maximum you can do is a 7 out of 10, which means that, yeah, you did good things, you dribbled well, and you did everything except the most important thing in football, which is to score or help someone score, right? So, yeah, I, spoiler alert, I gave everybody in attack, or at least Osimhen and Kvara, no more than a 7. Payment that got, man. Thank you for the 4.99 pound donation. Says, please don't even mention Italiano. De Zerbi and Motta won't come, so I hope Conte, but I cannot see it. Yeah, I really don't like Italiano. You guys know that we spoke about it in the last live or the one before. I think he's great for the attack, but his defensive approach, I've got my doubts, and I think that it could be better with better players at his disposal. I mean, you have to think the players that he has at Fiorentina, but it would mean that you would still have to invest a lot if you want Italiano, because Italiano, for his style of football to work, you need very, very good defenders that can cover all the spaces that he leaves open, right? So you would have to get very, very good center backs and defenders if you take Italiano. Motta's gonna go to Juventus. I think that's pretty obvious. De Zerbi could be an interesting one. And I think he's maybe a bit disappointed he didn't get picked for the Liverpool job, and I think that he's disappointed that Xavi is staying at Barcelona. I think that was maybe something that would have appealed to him. Um, but yeah, maybe he's waiting for the Man City job. and he's just waiting for Guardiola to leave, and he feels that being in the Premier League, he's got more visibility with Man City if he stays there. I don't know, but I mean, it's also a risk because that Brighton team, I mean, it's hard to imagine that they can keep performing that way if they keep selling all their players every single summer. So maybe the best thing to do is come to Napoli, you get a budget, you buy the players that you want, and then you can build a project there. So, yeah. Is Conte from southern Italy? Asked Lewis. Yeah, he's from Puglia. He's from Puglia. He's from Lecce. So funny thing. Lecce has a rivalry with Bari, the other team from Puglia, which is the team that the De Laurentiis family owns. So that's a nice triangle, I guess, kind of ish. But yeah, he's southern, but he's a Juventino through and through. I mean, just because he's southern doesn't actually mean that he likes Napoli more than someone from the north. Actually, if you're southern, you have a higher and outside of Naples, you have a higher chance of being Juventino and despising Naples and Napoli, as opposed to someone from like Bologna, no, who's gonna be supporting Bologna and he has no beef whatsoever with Naples and Napoli because there's no problem there. Just like Luciano Spalletti and all these guys, I mean, they're from Toscana, in Tuscany, they've got no beef with Napoli. So even though they're, let's say, Northerners, yeah, they probably have a liking towards us, if anything. Whereas some Southerners, they are just so pro Juventus and so anti Napoli. A sense of yeah, like I don't know. I guess it's do any of you guys, I don't have an older brother, but maybe it's like, that older brother that's always, the one winning at everything, and so you have a jealousy towards him. That's how a lot of the southern places feel about Napoli. So yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mike says I don't like the Zerbi style football. Unpopular opinion, I know, but I think his football is moving away from his super robotic style. What he does have, the Zerbi, is that he's got um, passages of play. He's got schematics set up like if the ball is in this position, this is what you have to do, right? And I think that fits very well with players that are very average because an average player, like think of a guy like Rahmani, okay? If you're Rahmani and you might not have that many brain cells, okay? Maybe, allegedly, maybe. I'm not saying he doesn't have, but I'm saying he maybe doesn't have that many brain cells. Then you don't want to be put in a position where the coach is like, do whatever feels best for you, right? Take initiative. That's not what Rahmani wants to hear. What Rahmani wants to hear is, tell me exactly what to do, and I'll be a soldier for you. And I think that's what the Zerbi gives players. I think he gives them a set strategy. If you're in this position, you do this. If you're in that position, you do that. Um, it makes them very predictable. And when things don't go well, the players, they have plan A, B, C. They cannot think, they're not used to thinking anymore of something else. And when the opposition has found a way to close you down on A, B, and C, then they panic and they lose games 4-5-0. And we've seen that from Brighton. So they either win games or they lose 4-5-0. Um, so yeah, that's just because they don't know really what to do on the spot. They have a set plan, and if the set plan doesn't go well, then it's catastrophic. So yeah, that's kind of the thing with De Zerbi. He is similar to Italiano, says Lorenz Moore. Build a play and attack is brilliant, but the defense is so leaky. Brighton either win 5-0 or lose 5-0. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I explained why. It's because you've got plan A, B, C. If they work great. If they don't work, they've got no flexibility and innovation on the spot to come out of the danger. So yeah. Let's get to some of the earlier comments of the game. You can't blame Juan Jesus for not being able to play better. It's Adiele for not buying a better center back. what came first, the chicken or the egg? I think you end up you have to blame both. You have to blame both. Juan Jesus should know better by now. He's not inexperienced, and Calzona should know better not to play him, and De Laurentiis should have known better not to renew Juan Jesus. But yeah, um, it's so funny. Reaction. The last six videos has the wrong. Have I really spelled reaction wrong and all? Have I done that? I am sorry. I am. I will change that. I will change that. That's what happens when you have a template and no one brings this up to my attention until Zakaria. God damn it. Yeah. But thank you for letting me know. This is why the views haven't been popping. This is why I haven't been popping. Let's see. Valerie, I think the problem is not mentality. Now his problem is lack of strategy, tactics, and analytics towards their opponents. Yeah, we need a little bit of plan A and plan B, and I think we don't have enough of that. Um, so yeah, you want to be somewhere in between, right? You want to be not like De Zerbi, where he's got A, B, and C, and that's it. And you can't do anything different. Otherwise, people like your teammates will be like, "Whoa, what? He's done something different," and then they all panic. Um, and you don't want to be like Real Madrid. Real Madrid is the opposite. Real Madrid is complete freedom. They have no schematics. Real Madrid, okay, and the players have admitted to it, and they're so free to do what they want. But you can do that with those players. You can tell. You can Ancelotti. See, this is why I don't think he's a good coach for those kind of teams because he doesn't give out schematics. He just says to people, do what you do. Do what you do. And if you've got a very good team, if you've got Modric and Kroos in the midfield and Bellingham in front of them and Vini and Rodrigo and all these guys, then you don't have to tell them much, right? Rod, Rudiger knows what he needs to do. Rodrigo knows what he needs to do. Bellingham knows what he needs to do without any coach telling him. They see the space, they see the movement, they have that natural raw talent. The coach literally just has to see who is training hard in the middle of the week, what's the best chemistry between these players that lets them express themselves in the best way. But he doesn't tell Modric where he needs to play the ball. Modric knows naturally where he needs to play the ball, whereas our guys need more guidance, but you don't want to go too far down that path. You want to be somewhere in the middle, and that's exactly how it was with Spalletti. It wasn't complete freedom, and it wasn't complete set of hard plans. It was a general idea that they could follow, a guideline, and they were able to move freely within these guides, but they were still able to move freely, and they still had guides. So that's kind of what a team of the level of Napoli needs. Yeah, I think that makes sense, right? Dom, we often talk about players who would like to leave Napoli. Have you thought about some players that you would like to bring in if we sell these? Yeah, so I was thinking this is so you have to, I think, start off with when you need to think about what player to bring in, right? I think a good place to start is who's selling, which club it needs to sell, right? Because you don't want to identify a player and then you realize that this club doesn't need to sell. For example, Napoli last year. If you wanted a Napoli player last year, let's say someone wanted to buy Lobotka, they say, yeah, he's the perfect player. They go to Napoli, and then Napoli's like, we don't need to sell. We're fine. Then you've just wasted your entire time, and it's a useless recommendation. So the starting point is who's selling. Which club is in desperate need to sell players? And I think the club in Europe that is most desperate to sell players is Chelsea. Chelsea Football Club. Why? Because it's the second season in a row now without Champions League football, with a wage structure that does not allow them to maintain this any longer. They invested heavily in the last 2 years, and they need to now bring things back, not just with stopping the spending, but they need to start selling players to align the books. Moreover, they also need to, even though they have to stop spending, they need to keep spending as well, because they need to fix the fundamental problems in their team. So they're in this position where they need to reduce their salaries, they need to sell players, and they also need to use part of that sale to fund spending. So if they can sell, like if you go to Chelsea and say, I want this player, they'll probably be like, yeah, you know what, just take him, right? And I get it that Chelsea are not doing that well. So it's kind of maybe a bad pond to go fishing in, but there are some quality players in that team still. And out of the players who I think we could get there, or the players that Chelsea most wants to sell and needs to sell, is the players that were part of their youth academy. Why? Because when you sell one of those players, that, let's say you sell a youth player for 50 million, that 50 is regarded as pure profit in the account books. Whereas if you sell a player for 50 but you had bought him for 20, you're only registering 30 as a profit. It's not exactly like that, but just to make it clear. So you have to, so if you're Chelsea, you want to sell the players from a youth academy, which is what they did with Cole Palmer last year. Even though he's a massive, not Cole Palmer. This is what they need to do this year. This is what Man City did last year. They sold a player from their youth academy, no? Because it's regarded as pure profit, and Man City also needs to do something similar to Chelsea, but less, to the less extent, because Man City have a lot of revenue from Champions League football. Chelsea needs to start doing that now, and I think someone like Conor Gallagher, midfielder, box to box, young, puts in so much effort in every game that I watch. Um, that's an option. That's an option. Yeah, his salary is high because he comes from the Premier League, but he's got to go. He has, like, Chelsea have to sell him. There's no other option. They have to sell him. They have to fund their spending this summer, and they have to fill a big hole that they already have. And yeah, so him, Chalobah, all these guys. By the way, Chalobah, his brother, already played for Napoli. Chilwell, yeah, exactly. All these guys that come from the, well, Chilwell, no, Chilwell comes from Leicester, but Chalobah, um, Gallagher, all these guys that come from the Chelsea youth, they got to sell. And I think it's a great opportunity. And I think they don't want to sell to other Premier League teams because these are talented players. So they're going to want to sell abroad. And so I would go directly to Chelsea and say, which youngster are you going to give me? That's my first move. If I was sporting director of Napoli, my first stop would be fly to London, get a meeting with Chelsea, and say, these are your top 5 youth people that came from your youth. Which one are you selling me? And you go and take that. And you have all the power because they need to sell. So they can't really negotiate that much with you. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do. So yeah, maybe buy 2 of them. So that, I mean, that's my first stop, and then yeah, other players, you then see, okay, what's the second club that needs to sell, and you go down that list, right? And obviously that's one way to approach it. The other way to approach it is you have a very specific target of a player, and then in that case you have to spend a little bit more. So yeah, I guess there's an approach of which club is selling. There's an approach on going and finding players that are in their last year of their contract. And then obviously clubs will want to sell that specific player. So there's a lot of different ways that you go about this. And that's how I would structure it if I was Napoli sporting director. But God forbid they put someone like us in that position. I feel like we would all do a good job. We would all be doing a better job than Meluso. Dom, are you gonna be watching the movie? Yeah, actually, I got flights to come back to Naples on Friday morning. So I'll be watching the movie the next day on Saturday. And yeah, I'll be able to tell you guys how it is, this Napoli Scudetto movie. So yeah, I'll be doing that. I'll be doing that. Okay, let's go. No, Greenwood, no, guys, come on. He's got. It's not the type of player that Napoli would buy with the drama that happened with him outside of the field. No, Napoli, they only want to have to deal with like good people, let's say. Um, Dom, I live in London and I've been a Napoli and Chelsea fan since young. I watch Chelsea every game and I can say that Gallagher is a big no-go, lack of talent, very similar to Kayuste type of player. Man, I don't agree. I think he's got talent. I think I watched him at Crystal Palace. I've watched him a little bit at Chelsea. Yeah, he's not the most talented player. I get it. But I think Premier League players, like we've seen with Anguissa, make a big impact in the Serie A. Like Loftus-Cheek, right? For example, Milan went to Chelsea and got Loftus-Cheek, right? For the same reason that I'm saying we need to go to Chelsea this year, because Chelsea need to sell their youth players. Loftus-Cheek was not making an impact at Chelsea. Pulisic was not making an impact in the Premier League, but they come to the Serie A and they make an impact because I think the tempo of the Premier League is so high that when a player is used to that and they bring that tempo to a Serie A midfield, it makes a difference. It really does make a difference. And so yeah, I think that he would be able to, just the way that Anguissa was a championship player with Fulham. I mean, the guy was literally in the championship. So yeah, even Noel Gallagher is better than Cat's Juice. Yeah. Oh man, that's pretty funny. Skriniar for PSG, I think his salary is a bit too out of reach. Why not Napoli take a chance of signing someone from any of the B teams in La Liga like Barca or Real Madrid? I think that's a nice prospect buy, and you don't even have to go down to the B team, right? You could go and get um that Turkish guy at Real Madrid. Um, what's his name? I've got him on the tip of my tongue. Not Yildiz. That's the Juve guy. The other Arda something. You could go and get him. 18 years old. Get him on loan, or buy him with then Real Madrid having an option to buy him for 20 million. Real Madrid can buy him back for 40. Something like that. Um, and give this guy a chance, right? Because he's rotting. Yeah, Guler, exactly. He's rotting on that Real Madrid bench, right? And Real Madrid are gonna be stacked next year with also Endrick coming from Palmeiras, and so you you want to be giving this guy a chance somewhere else, right? So yeah, yeah, I think that's a good one. Nico Pads from Real Madrid. Yeah, exactly. But these are not like B team guys anymore, right? These are already people that are training with the first team, but are just not finding much space. So, and yeah, it would be kind of what we did with Higuain and Callejon. Higuain and Callejon were already a bit more advanced in their careers. Callejon, for example, is a bit more like what PSG did this year with Asensio. Asensio was not playing anymore for Real Madrid that much, but he was already a bit of a senior player, right? He was already like 25, 26, 27. Um, so that's what Higuain and Callejon were. Now we're talking with Nico Paz and Goulet, we're talking about guys that are 18 to 20, so very different kind of input that they would give Napoli. You would still be taking a huge bet with them. if you want someone that's a bit more like Callejon, like Higuain, then you have to go, for example, you go to Barcelona and you take Sergi Roberto, okay? Or you go to Real Madrid and you take Lucas Vasquez, okay? Someone that is a senior player, has a lot of experience, but is not playing that much, and maybe like he's won everything there is to win, and he's happy to come somewhere else and have a different experience and be that leader in the dressing room. So yeah, I would say step one, go find a club that needs to sell. Step two, go find players that are on their last year of contracts. Step three, go find in the top teams, your Bayern, Real, Barca, all these guys, PSG, find players that have quality but are not going to find minutes next season. And I think that's a strategy that I would go for. I wouldn't go and get guys like Cayuste or something like that, which are like from average teams. And yeah, I mean, that's not what we need, right? We need people that are coming from big clubs. I think that's pretty obvious that we need experience in this team again. So yeah, I would go for that. Okay, let's go to the game. Okay, we've been live for almost an hour and we haven't talked about the game. This is incredible, guys. But thank you for being so active and participating in this chat. I love you guys. And do make sure that you are smashing the like button, guys. There are only 35 likes, okay? 36 likes. And I know you're watching this on full screen, but just minimize that screen, smash that like button, because otherwise the algorithm is never going to promote this channel. And this community is not going to get any larger, and if it doesn't get any larger, then that makes me sad, and you don't want to see me sad, because then if I'm sad, who knows what happens to this channel if I get sad about it. So yeah, let's go with what happened in the game. So yeah, I think Napoli controlled the midfield, right? I mean, we put Dybala in a position where you can see him here. He's not able to really receive the ball, and then a few, even when Roma step up, he is not occupying any position between the Napoli defense and the Napoli midfield. He actually has to step out of that number 10 position and try to touch the ball way out of where he wants to be. Dybala is dangerous when he's in between defenders and midfielder. Here, he had to step out of that position, come almost in between his own midfield and defenders to touch the ball. And Napoli did that extremely well. And that was huge merit to the team. They really knew how to close down space. They were compact. So we had Roma under control, especially in the first half, and we didn't give Dybala any chances. And then speaking of chances, these are the ones that we had, but too often it was Osimhen getting this ball from around this position, going by himself all the way to the edge of the box or inside the box, and then looking around and thinking, guys, yo, are we do we have this court? Am I on the wrong court, guys? Are we playing together? Like, are you guys on the other court or something? That's kind of what it felt to me. Like, why is he the only guy there? This is when you step into the wrong neighborhood, like what's going on here? And it happened way too much. It happened way too much, and I think in this situation, you look back and you think, what was Lozano giving us last season? Never thought I would be saying this, but at least Lozano was giving Osimhen options at times, because he was fast enough to keep up with Osimhen. Politano and Kvara do not have raw speed as their like number one trait. I mean, they're fast players, but they're not able to keep up with Osimhen, and Osimhen gets into these positions and is like, okay, what do I do? No? So yeah, I mean, your mom is saying, all of your moms are saying that I feel like in this game we didn't contribute enough in attack and we didn't have the numbers on offense. And it does feel like we left Osimhen a little bit too alone. But someone that I think did step up in in attack, or to help out in attack, was Anguissa, and he made some very good runs, especially in the first half. This was the first one where he sees the space that's been created with Politano dropping back. You can see that Politano has dropped back. The defender has followed him forward, and that left the gap between the left back and the center back. And Anguissa was able to exploit that space and run into the channel. And he had great pace today. Anguissa finds Osimhen, but the problem is that Osimhen is again way too alone here. So when he receives the ball, he receives it kind of back to goal, and there was no one to directly play the pass to. I mean, yes, Politano ends up coming a bit, you know, a bit too late. That's the thing. Like, by the time Politano's there and ready to receive the ball, Roma's already closing in on Osimhen and on Politano himself. So Osimhen has to take the shot, has to take it with his left foot, and Roma do well to defend that. But if there was someone that was closer to Osimhen in this moment, then Osimhen, as soon as he receives the ball, first time can lay it off to his teammate, but there was no one there to do that. He had to keep the ball for 1 or 2 seconds longer, and the occasion went away. Then there was another chance where again he was alone, had to go all the way by himself, and you can kind of tell that last year everything was going well for us. He was in a very similar position last year against the same opponent, against Roma, and last year he buried this chance. This year he didn't, and you can just see that it all just kind of, it's fine margins one year to the next. One year you score, one year you hit it right at the goalkeeper, right? And it's like everything is either going for you or it's not going for you. But finally, we get to a point where Meret plays the long ball to Osimhen, and finally, a teammate of Osimhen makes the run in behind him to get the flick on. And it is something that I said so much in other videos. I said, when we play the ball long to Osimhen, we need someone next to him that is making the run so that he can flick the ball onto, or at least to be next to him so he can play the ball, so he can pass the ball when he controls it. So often Osimhen receives these balls and he controls it or flicks it, and there's nobody next to him to receive the pass. At least here he's got, you can see Cayuste next to him if he needs to lay off the ball too, and he's seen Anguissa make the run, he knows that he can flick it in the space behind. And finally we see something something improving in the way we're building a play, even if it is a long ball, even if it is not sexy to play this way, at least we're doing something that's useful. And Anguissa here does very well to actually control this ball. It's super difficult to do this at full speed. Controls the ball first with your knee, then brings it down. And we saw how difficult it is in, I think, the last game or 2 games ago when Osimhen struggled to do this. But then he gets to in front of the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper, I mean, he didn't even have to make a save, right? Because Anguissa just slashes this, and you need a bit more composure here. And again, we talk about things going well this season, last season, and not this season. Guys, last season Anguissa had something very similar happen to him, where he ran with the ball for 30 yards and then smashed it inside the goal against Torino. This season, no, right? So yeah, unfortunately it happens. That we kept having chances, right? I mean, it was all Napoli in the first half. This was Kvara taking a shot, getting deflection on Ndika, and narrowly going wide. This chance here where I don't know if it was gonna be offside with someone anyways at some point. I don't think so, but Juan Jesus here like could have done way better. Misses the target completely. And then in the second half, we continue to build pressure here. Brilliant pass by Politano to Stanislav Lobotka. And this is not a run that we've ever seen Lobotka do this season. He doesn't make these runs into the box. But this game, it was different with Napoli. We were making these movements, we were making these runs, looking at where the space is and finding it. And there was a huge step up in our performance. And I'm so glad to have seen that we actually played good football, finding spaces. But again, our midfielders are not cynical in front of goal. And, here the chance goes to waste. But then all these good chances end up being, we're building all this momentum, putting Roma under pressure, and then Roma get into the box for basically the first time in the second half. And from a simple ball that's played over the top, Juan Jesus isn't able to time it well. With all the experience in the world that he puts a foot out where he doesn't need to, and it's a penalty. And the thing that most annoys me here is that is the ball is moving in a direction that is going away from goal. The ball is not bouncing towards Meret. The ball is bouncing away from goal. So all Juan Jesus has to do is just protect the goal with his body. Just follow. If you don't feel like you can get a clean touch on the ball, just put pressure on the striker with your body and get in between your goal. That's all you got to do in that situation. The ball is naturally going to start moving more and more and more away from the goal. But he does not rely on that experience, and he concedes the penalty, which is, yeah, it's baffling to me. That, I mean, these are things that I would assume a professional player would know, wouldn't make these kind of mistakes, no? And yeah, what makes me mad is that we always concede first, and that's what ended up happening with Dybala scoring this penalty. He made it super close to actually getting it. I mean, he's a good penalty saver. Lawrence Moore says our midfield hasn't scored enough this year. I don't think Anguissa or Lobo have got a goal this year. Yeah, we really like struggle with that, and that's why we wanted Gabri Veiga at the start of the season. And everybody, when we won the first two games and Gabri Veiga went in the end to Saudi and he hasn't been exactly lighting the scenes in Saudi, everybody's like, we don't need Gabri Veiga. I disagree. I think he would have brought something to the Napoli midfield. I think he would have given us a bit of freshness, and he was someone that is very attacking minded, um, always thinks about taking that shot, and I think we missed that from the midfield a lot. If Juan Jesus doesn't leave in the summer, I will fly over to Napoli and do it myself. Yeah, let's bring him to the airport, guys. And then we get to this goal, right? And here Oliveira passes the ball to Cayuste, who's occupying a good position, giving Oliveira an option, taking some pressure away from Osimhen and Kvara. Loses the ball, obviously, but recovers it. And Oliveira has the courage to, take a shot on. He's in a good position. Why not? Gets majorly deflected and goes in. But, we deserve to score at this point of the game, but you have to wonder like why it takes us so many shots to score and then we can only score with the deflection. And a few moments later, Osimhen very close to scoring with Politano this time on the left-hand side, whipping in across for Osimhen. Look, I think Politano played just as well as Kvara and Osimhen, maybe a little bit less, but I think he created still a lot of chances. I mean, he created this chance, he created the one for Lobotka. He could have easily had one or two assists, as many as some of the other players today on the field. So I don't have a problem necessarily with Politano. I don't think our problems were ever Politano. Like, if we have 11 players, he's the seventh problematic player, but he's definitely not top five problems. Top five problems are in defense and in midfield. Our attack, I think that's the last thing that we need to worry about. Um, so yeah, would you like to see Politano as a wing back? No, he's not got the stamina. A wing back has to run way more than a traditional left back or winger because he essentially has to do both positions at once. And Politano, we know that he implodes after 60 minutes. So I think Politano as a wing back would last 30 minutes, but in a hypothetical scenario that a football match only lasts 30 minutes, I think he would actually do a good job in that position. I think he's good in that position if you don't consider his stamina problem. Biggest mistake was letting go of Elmas. Yeah, yeah. Engonje though came in for Elmas. I think he's a good player. Gave this good pass to Osimhen, and Osimhen, there was no doubt who was going to win this race, him versus Mancini. Completely destroys Mancini on pace, and it's super difficult, guys, at with that amount of speed to you know pretend that he can beat the goalkeeper easily. I think, yeah, it would be nice if he scores, but I think the only thing you can ask of a player here is to hit the ball on target. Honestly, like, you guys don't know how hard it is to shoot a ball on target going that fast, man. Like 35 kilometers per hour, like 20 miles an hour. Um, so I give credit to Osimhen here. He did everything well, timed his run, beat his man, shot on target, didn't make it easy for the goalkeeper, and it's not his fault if the goalkeeper gets the under part of his arm on that. Like, that is like, we cannot say that this is a big miss from Osimhen. I think he did everything he needed to do, kept it low, beat his man. Like, it would have been in the corner. Like, I don't want to hear anyone say that this is a big miss by Osimhen. Like, no, man, this is not a big miss. This is a big save. This is a big, big save. I think you know, if this was Neuer, it would be one of Neuer's, top 20. Maybe not, because Neuer has a lot of, but you know what I mean? Like, this is good on the goalkeeper, not bad on Osimhen. And then we get to the penalty situation. Osimhen does so well here to control the ball. It's very difficult. I think he did a great job. Lays it off to Kvara, and then you get this Kvara versus Renato Sanchez duel where it starts outside of the box, it continues inside, he goes down. The reaction of the bench, they all start going crazy, and then Di Lorenzo and Anguissa, they try to make a foul on Roma players to stop the play as soon as possible, because that's exactly what you want to do. You want to not give the I think every second that passes, the ref and VAR is less likely to go back on that decision, right? So Napoli did very well to keep the ball inside the Roma half, get a foul. It's unfortunate that the yellow card that Anguissa gets does not get cancelled, even though it was called a penalty eventually. But I guess it doesn't matter, right? Like, if you get a yellow card, you got a yellow card. So yeah, but I mean, big step up in mentality, making sure that you make that foul, because guess what? You are very likely to concede after a penalty decision doesn't go your way. So very good to just get the ball out of play, recompact, let the referee take a look at VAR. That's what you got to be doing. That's what you got to be doing. And then finally, they saw that this was uh, not a not a bad tackle, because it didn't come with a lot of force, but a very dangerous tackle regardless, because it was right on the shin of Kvara. Somehow this is not a yellow card for whatever reason, they didn't give this a yellow card. I'm surprised about that. And De Laurentiis can't look at this penalty. I mean, if you're wondering if he was still hoping for a Champions League spot, this image tells you everything. He was still hoping that we would get Champions League football because he knew how important this penalty might have been. And Osimhen did very well to score. But in the end, we talked about it. Calzona made that substitution during the corner. The team was maybe a little bit distracted. Di Lorenzo doesn't move up fast enough, and by like a fraction of a hair, he keeps Abraham on side, and Abraham is the first to react. And guess who was marking Abraham? That's right, it's our boy Juan Jesus. Juan Jesus was marking him. So yeah, Abraham scores. And then we have that one final chance in the second half, in injury time of the second half, with Rahmani playing further up, taking a shot. Actually, he's got a knack for scoring goals, Rahmani. It bounces away from the goalkeeper, but you can see that Mancini has a little bit less space to cover than Osimhen, so he gets there before him and puts in a very mega good block. And the game ends there, guys. The game ends there, and these are my player ratings. I think the strikers did well, not incredibly well, like not oh my god, what a great game, oh my god, not like that. They did well. They created chances. They tried to beat the goalkeeper, but ultimately it wasn't really enough. The midfield, I thought they dominated against this Roma midfield, so I think they did well as well. Again, nothing spectacular. They missed both Lobotka and Anguissa missed big chances, but they got themselves in good positions, and that's what you want from your midfielders. And Oliveira, I think he had a good game, coming in clutch with that goal. But yeah, the defense in the end let us down. I think Roma had two or three chances in the entire game and scored two goals. Again, we talked about Juan Jesus. We talked about Di Lorenzo maybe not being quick enough to play that offside trap. And Meret, I mean, he didn't really have any fault in any of the goals. And yeah, the players that came on, Ngonje played well. I don't really understand the timing of the substitutions. I don't really understand Calzona that much, to be honest. So he gets a 5, and it's a 5 because he keeps he played the Napoli played well on one hand, and almost he deserves a 6 or a 7 for that. But he can't keep getting away with playing Juan Jesus and the way he makes his substitution. So I have to downgrade him to a 5. So yeah. So yeah, that's the player ratings, guys. Juan Jesus could stay as a sixth center back if Conte comes. No, please, please, please. I mean, if there is justice in this world, this guy gets fired. Please, I beg you. Dom, what do you think will happen to Raspadori? It doesn't seem like he is going to get any good playing time anytime soon. We will see with the new coach. With the new coach, I have a feeling the formation is going to change. It's not going to be 4-3-3. Could it benefit Raspadori? Let's see. Let's see. And Cyril does link up very nicely with Osimhen. I agree with Matias. Politano had some key mistakes today. Felt like Cyril brought the ball up nicely. I tend to agree that Cyril Ngonje is better than Politano, and my player ratings reflect that. I think he is a better player. I think he does bring something extra. I'm not gonna stand though for like people saying Politano is the reason we have problems. Like, no, um, that's not the reason. We have 5 or 6 other positions before that are giving us problems, more bigger problems. Madrid Zone on Twitter said Napoli are interested in Arda Güler and Fabrizio Romano was tagged. You see? When did he post? When did they post it? I want to know. I want to know because if that's true, I promise you I didn't see this. I promise you I promise you, I didn't see it. I've been watching the football. I've been going live. Let's see. Madrid Zone Twitter. What did they say? Uh, they posted it 4 minutes ago. 4 minutes ago, they posted something about Arda Güler and Napoli. 1 hour ago. Okay, so yeah, at 8:30 p.m., exactly 1 hour ago, I had no way of knowing that that was it. You guys, you guys understand what's going on here? You guys get it? You guys get what's going on? You know? Connect the dots, guys. Connect the dots. I am gonna orchestrate through my videos Napoli's transfer season. I'm gonna be like, oh, have you thought of Arda Güler? And then you got De Laurentiis watching this, being like, yo, we gotta move for Arda Güler. We gotta do this. So yeah, win Dom. When do I? When, guys, when do I not? That's it, folks. That's it for me today. No, I'm kidding. Do a little bit. Let's do another bit. Dom has that crazy ball knowledge. I, I just think that they're listening. They're watching us. They're watching us. Yeah, I think they are. I think they are watching us. If we get Politano being the biggest problem of the team, I'm happy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, Politano last year was the biggest problem in the team, right? I mean, the biggest issue that I had last year was uh, who do we play, Lozano or Politano, right? And we won a Scudetto. If that's your biggest problem, you're good. You're good. You're good. So put this on your CV. Man, I contacted someone at Napoli 2 weeks ago, and um, yeah, I didn't get a response back on LinkedIn. So maybe I need more of this on my CV. Maybe I need to, but it wasn't for like a job. Like I just wanted to like reach out to someone at Napoli and be like, "Yo, I'm doing these videos. Like, can I can I get a shout out, or I don't know, like can I interview the guy making the food? Like it doesn't even have to be a player. Like can I just get my foot in the door somehow and get someone on the channel? But they keep it very tight. They keep it very tight in there. We've got this leaky defense on the field, and then super tight in the boardroom. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean they will regret this one day when I do get a player to come on the channel, and I'm not gonna be doing it through official ways. I'm gonna get that sneaky interview. Then they're gonna be like, man, I wish we just gave him the front door, and we could have aligned on the questions, but no. I'll do sneaky questions, and then they will regret. Uh, yeah, let's see, one day maybe. They are missing out on the research. Yeah, I mean, jokes aside though, right? Like I don't think I could do their job or anything like that. I mean, but what I do think is I think they're missing out on getting information about this channel. And I have a lot of information that I think they could really use. I know exactly what cities are connecting to Napoli Talk. I don't know like where you guys live, but I know that like one person from so and so city or 10 people from so and so city. And I know at what point of the day said people or said cities are most likely to watch my stuff and stuff like that. And that's powerful data that Napoli could use to target audiences. They could say, like, oh, I don't know, people from Georgia love to watch videos on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Boom, let's make a video about Kavara on the main channel at 8 p.m. Tuesday. Like they could do that. But hey, they don't want this data. Fine. Fine. I'm not gonna give it to them. But yeah, yeah. Let's see what Calzona said. Did he say anything? Did he say anything? I don't know. Let's see what he said. See what he says. um, yeah, having contact about my demographic is important. It is. It is. And you know, I guess they don't want that. I guess they don't want that information. So yeah. But it's fine. Actually, I do have a way to get into the nap. So my knee doctor, because you guys know I broke my ACL. I tore my ACL. He's the Napoli doctor as well. Um, but I feel bad asking him. I feel bad. I feel like I, and I also feel like I need to like book a. I have to book an appointment with him, and his appointments are like expensive. Like you have to pay like a lot, you know? And so I'm like, am I really gonna pay for an appointment just for him to like, I don't know, check out my knee for a bit, even though I don't really need to have that right now, and then ask him like, hey, do you want to come on the chat? Like, I don't know. I mean, he's my doctor, right? I don't want him to hate me. What if he says no? Then that's awkward. That's an awkward relationship with your own doctor, right? So yeah, I wanna get in through like through another route. I wanna get in through another way that I'm not like linked to the person. But yeah, let's see what Calzona. Anyways, let's see what Calzona said in the press conference. Let's see what Calzona said. He spoke to different things, different Sky, that zone. Let's see what he said to Sky. To Sky, he says, why did it end 2-2 even though the team showed up today? And he says, it's a nice question. We were unlucky in two moments of the game. We know how good Roma is on dead ball situations. I made a change before the corner, but it wasn't enough. We got 2 goals conceded from dead balls. I don't know what to say. I can only be happy though for the effort that the players put in today. And he says, yeah. I mean, he apparently thinks that it's a good thing to make changes before a corner. I cannot agree. I cannot disagree more. But yeah, they ask him what's missing with this team, and he says, "Look, the season is what it is. The players are feeling the weight of the situation, but I have the duty to make them train well and have them play good football when it's game time. And if we keep playing like this, results will arrive. We conceded very little to a very good Roma team. And yeah, he says they ask him, De Laurentiis, would he need your advices on which players to bring next season and which could be the new coach? And he says, no, De Laurentiis does not need my opinions. It's 20 years that he's been in the sport. He knows better. And they say, is the goal that you conceded with the 2-2, is it an issue? Was it a defensive mistake? And he says, yes, we needed to attack the ball a bit more. We know that they play these flick-ons, and we needed to be more aggressive with that first one and come out a little bit sooner. So he knows this to that zone. He says, yeah, oh, that zone asks him a lot of questions. So this was actually, I think, an old. Maybe I clicked on the wrong. Yeah, I clicked on something he said this morning. So no, that doesn't matter. Let's go on another link that I have open. They said, look, the team has made the fans in the stadium applaud them. And he says, yeah, I'm happy with the performance. Unfortunately, we conceded a bit too much with Roma and dead ball situations. And today the team not only did a good, not only put in effort, but I think they did well tactically and technically. We do have some regrets, but it's from the very start of the cycle that this team has had problems. It's clear that we need to still solve some of them, but today they did well. Um, I told the players that they need to keep this up. They need to keep this up. And regarding the I guess they're doing a retiro, which I'm struggling to translate that now. they're doing like this thing where they basically all stay together, a retreat, and they ask him, "Is it going to continue?" And Calderon says, "I don't know. I haven't spoken to the club, but the retreat is not something to penalize the players. It's something to, just bond more with each other. We have done it for 24 hours, not an entire week. I saw the players were happy to be together. I don't know if that helped or not, but I did see a different kind of environment. I saw that the players were concentrated in the meetings. We were speaking in the lunch table a bit more than usual. That's weird. Is it weird? Is it just me? That's kind of weird, no? That apparently, like, they were not speaking that much before. Isn't that kind of weird? It's a weird observation to put. Like, these are players that won the Scudetto last season. You'd think they'd be like brothers, no? But I guess not. I guess they don't like each other maybe that much. Maybe there's like drama with who got promote or who got contract extensions and who didn't. So yeah. Um, so yeah, then they ask him, why do we have such a low conversion rate when it comes to shots to goals? And he says, and then they ask him, is it related to like fear or something like that? And he says, no, it's not fear. Um, like we, out of 25, he says, out of 25 pieces of data that I'm tracking or metrics that I'm tracking, we have improved in 18, 19 of them. So I think the players are improving and the conversion to from shots to goals will also improve like that. What we did, however, do badly on is defensively. Defensively, we've not been very solid. But we need to continue with the performances like today. Okay, so that's Calzona. I don't know. I don't really like Calzona's press conferences. I feel like they're kind of weird. But yeah, yeah, they're kind of weird, no? So like he like takes blame, but then he doesn't. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I don't know. He's a weird kind of guy. Weird kind of guy. But anyways, guys, that's it. That's it from Calzona. That's it. Oh, Anthony's in. Anthony is in. Says, "Hey Dom, I haven't been watching, but glad to see you're still doing these. Hope next year will be better, but lots of players need to go. Do you think Adiele will actually change a lot?" I think so. I think he has to. He knows that if he doesn't change, this team like is gonna just keep doing these kind of results, and it doesn't benefit him, right? He would rather spend money and guarantee Champions League football than have this, right? Like he's gonna spend. I have no doubts about that. It's just about are we gonna do it right, you know? But yeah, glad to hear from you, man. For those of you that don't know, Anthony was like one of the first people that subscribed to Napoli Talk. And I pretty much know everybody that comments on these things. Like I'm very good with remembering names and all that, and like we always speak, and it's a very community based channel. So yeah, it's nice to see people that pop up. Now it's what, like three years that I've been doing this, so it's cool. It's cool that people are still following back from day one. Dom, if you could choose two or three players to sign for Napoli next year, realistically, who would it be? I would say Arda Güler, um, Gallagher from Chelsea, and I explained why earlier in the video. And then I would like an experienced center back. I would go for, well, even better. It doesn't have to be experienced, but like at least experience in Serie A. I would go for Buongiorno. Okay, let's go for play. I would love Calafiori, Buongiorno, Arda Güler, and Gallagher. I think if we get these four, we're set. Like we win the Scudetto, honestly. We win the Scudetto. So yeah, yeah. Yeah. So that's L. K says, easy Dom, let me know who your duck is. I'll tell him to subscribe and watch your channel. Easy, easy. Yeah, his name is Raffaele Canonico. Canonico. He's the Napoli doctor. He's always on the touchline, and yeah, he's a cool guy, cool guy. But I feel bad asking him to come on the channel. But yeah. So there you go, little bit of knowledge on the Napoli doctor. Um, yeah, but who's gonna splash the cash for Kvara? I think he's still. I think people would still spend. Obviously, last year people were maybe more willing to spend the money because he had a better season, right? And I think clubs were maybe waiting to see if he could repeat himself, right? Because there's a lot of one season wonders, right? And you never really know until you until you play the second season, you never know if someone's a one season wonder or not. And I think if last year Kvara was worth 100, this year he hasn't lost all that value, but I think it's safe to say that he's lost some value. I think every Napoli player has lost value compared to last season. Like it's obvious. One season you win the title, one season you're ninth or tenth. Like it's obvious that something didn't go well. But I don't think he's lost that much. I think if last season he was 100, this year he might be 90, 80 if we're exaggerating, you know. But I think he's still young, so that's good. He still showed a lot of good moments this year. So he hasn't lost that much value. Obviously, if we had a good season this year, he would have increased it. And that was kind of the hope that he would increase it. And I think he has the potential to go to 120, 130, 150. I think he has that potential. Has he reached that level yet? Mm, mm, maybe not. I think the the level after 100 is the one where you start scoring big goals in big Champions League games. No, like for example, last year when he missed that chance versus Milan, that was kind of that was the way that was the one, you know, you score the winner in a quarterfinal, you get to the semis, boom, then you get into the semis, you score another, like that's when you start being like, okay, wow, this guy can win you a Champions League, you know. And I think that's the difference between a player that is has proven it in the league and a player that has to still demonstrate Champions League level. But like top champion, like not group stage. I'm talking top Champions League level. And I think none of these Napoli players have done that. Osimhen hasn't done that. Kvara hasn't done that. If they go to another club like Real Madrid and Barca, will they be able to do it? Maybe yes, because maybe when you go to a different club like Man City, Barca, Real, you have more chances to make the impact. But I guess that's when at that point then they become 150. But maybe it's a problem that if they stay at Napoli, they can't get to that level, right? So maybe it's more of a Napoli problem than a player problem. But yeah. Um, yeah, it's true. Obviously, the recruiters and scouts are watching it differently than us, right? They're considering the context a lot more. So yeah. Um, but again, you can you can also I think you can also like safely say that last year he had a better season, no? Like regardless of I think everybody last year, regardless of the context and the fact that their teammates are playing bad, I think everybody was better last season. Like the if you just take a look at even the individual stats that are like regardless of your team, such as um, goals compared to XG, right, of each individual player. I think it was better last season. I think last season for a shot that was zero point 0.7 XG, they would actually score. Whereas this season, zero point 0.7 XG, maybe they miss, you know, like so I think even on the individual stats, it's a bit worse this year, but still a good level. Still a good level, you know? So, yeah. Dom, why do people hate Di Lorenzo now? No one really hates Di Lorenzo, but it's just that he's the captain, right? So he represents the team, and if the team is not putting effort in some games, which was the case, for example, against Empoli, then he's the first to blame because it's like, why wasn't he able to inspire the team, you know? Um, so yeah, he's the guy that should be he's the responsible guy when it comes to like motivation, at least. And if the team is lacking motivation, well, that's responsibility of the captain. So yeah. Um, and he hasn't done that well either compared to last year. Like I still like him. I still think he's a good player, but last season he was way more decisive, right? Scoring a few more goals, getting a few more assists, and this year, just like with everybody, the level has dropped, and it doesn't mean that they become bad players. Like it just means that it's maybe last season was near the maximum of their potential, and this season is like, just an average season for them. A bit more closer to their average. I don't know. I don't know. And yeah, Kvara. Yeah, and I don't know how to pronounce your name, but this fan says, "You're right. Kvara is amazing now, but he was better last year. My grandpa always says Kvara last year, even if chances were zero, he would score. Now he has to take 100% chances." Or yeah, I think it's yeah. I think your grandpa's right. I think last year, I mean, we saw it, right? We saw it with some of the games this year where the same situation the previous year, he was scoring those goals. No, and he's still a very good player, but if last time he would score one goal every three shots, now he scores one goal every five or six shots. So, yeah. But anyways, guys, Dom, if you could sell Kvar in the summer for 100 million, what would you do? No, I wouldn't sell. I wouldn't sell. Even if he's not worth 100 million, like even if he's worth 80, I still wouldn't sell Kvara. I think for me he's priceless because you have to build this team around Kvara. He's like the one guy that you can, I think, say that okay, like he can play 2 more years here. No, he's still got 3 years on his contract. You can build a team around that time. Um, and let's build it around him. And I think we've got enough money that you don't need to be selling Kvara. I think you can sell Osimhen, use that money to build a team. I would sell more Osimhen, honestly, than Kvara. And I think, yeah, it's easier to find a striker than it is to find a left winger, in my opinion. Like a good left winger. But yeah. Anyways, guys, it's been a long live, an hour and 40 minutes almost. So thank you so much. I'm gonna go rest, make some dinner, eat some food, maybe maybe work out a little bit. I don't know. I haven't worked out today. I know it's late, but maybe I might do a quick workout. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys. Have a good one. Not the win we wanted, but we weren't expecting much anyways, right? And I think we can be pretty happy with the performance. So that's it. Anyways, guys, have a good one. And as always, ciao. Have a great week and Forza Napoli sempre.